Senhoras e senhores, uma salva de palmas.
Você que está ouvindo esse podcast, sabia que o show do aclamado diretor de suspense M. Night Shyamalan já tem data de estreia? Prepare-se para Armadilha, 8 de agosto, somente nos cinemas. Josh Hartnett retorna às telas ao lado de Salika Shyamalan em uma experiência cinematográfica angustiante.
Muito doido, né?
Armadilha, 8 de agosto, somente nos cinemas. Verifique a classificação indicativa.
Você vale muito. Eu não sei quantas vezes alguém já te disse isso, mas eu precisava repetir porque você vale muito. Não importa quantas vezes alguém tente te convencer do contrário. Eu tô aqui para reconhecer o seu valor, porque eu também já precisei de muitas para reconhecer e reforçar o meu. E não há nada mais poderoso do que celebrar juntas, porque nós valemos muito. L'Oréal Paris, porque você vale muito.
Hello and welcome to Buffering the Vampire Slayer, a podcast where we are watching and discussing every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer one at a time instead of all at once. My name is Jenny Owen Youngs.
And I'm Kristine Russo, and this week we are talking about Season 2, Episode 15, Phases. Stay tuned at the end of this podcast every week for an original song written by us, recapping the Buffy episode that we are discussing.
Innocence was written by Rob Deshotel and Dean Batali and directed by Bruce Seth Green. It originally aired on January 27th, 1998.
This is the one where Buffy and her friends discover secrets about themselves as they battle a werewolf, its hunter, and their own emotions. Also known as, this is the one where Oz is a werewolf and Larry is gay.
But also, I really like the IMDb description.
Oh, yeah, no, it's good. It's good, but just like if you want to really have your memory jogged.
Right. This is one where Oz is a werewolf and Larry is gay, for sure. And the one where Xander cannot keep it together.
He can. I am on such a journey with Xander.
He is a whirling dervish.
Right? I could not believe the peaks and valleys of my emotions.
Right?
With Xander in this. I just went from hating him possibly to the most I've ever hated him to being wow, Xander, great move. Or wow, man, this is really interesting the way you're handling this situation.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all of that and more. Starting now.
Starting right now.
Did you like my announcer voice?
That was great.
All of that and more.
It didn't register at all because I'm always doing an announcer voice.
So one of my favorite parts about this episode is the very first moment where
Callback.
Yes. Because I got so excited when the scene first started. I was like, oh my God, Amy's mom is in there. And then they were actually calling it out and referencing Amy's mom because Oz is like, yo, the eyes on the statue.
Yes, are following me wherever I go.
Yeah. And any comments on that, I like it. Which is great. And then Willow comes in a matching hat and sweater. That
oh my God, like chenille.
Yeah, we don't have Kate on this episode, so I'm going to give a few shout outs to outfits because there's some
winners.
There's some serious situations in here. But yeah, the fact that her hat and her sweater is the exact same color, I think is very special. So good job, Willow.
Were you doing that in the 90s? I for sure was doing that in the 90s.
Yeah, some of these outfits give me really, really hard smacks of memories. This one doesn't smack me quite as hard, but I'm sure that I played this game. I'm certain that I played it.
And we see this great interaction between Oz and Willow, where Willow comes up and is like, hi. And Oz is very Ozily. Well, that's what I was going to say. And they have a sweet little interaction talking about how they went to a movie. They went to a movie.
He doesn't remember the movie because it was just like the popcorn.
Except he remembers the popcorn.
Right.
It's a whole thing.
I mean, it's setting us up for this episode of Oz, which is just full of mixed messages.
Yeah.
Oz is all over the map. And Willow gets super flustered and has a great line where she's like, oh, there. I have my friend, so I will go to her. And just runs to Buffy like hell. But it's really cute because they're in this period of time. We saw them last episode almost kiss, and Oz was like, not now, later.
Yeah.
And Willow has been waiting and waiting and waiting. And I love Willow's entire arc of this episode where she's like, I am done waiting.
Yeah.
Willow is after it.
Yeah, she's ready to seize.
She is. And I want to just call out the fact that this was a really long pre-credits situation. You know,
Really long.
I like kept having more notes to write down and was like, do they not have credits in this episode?
Yeah.
Because then we go to Larry.
Oh, Larry being such a pig.
Oh, the worst. Larry really, again, if you want to talk about journeys we go on a real big journey with Larry in this episode because he is a nightmare.
Yeah, total nightmare.
He's been presented as a nightmare, but he's especially a nightmare.
This is, very extreme.
Knox, he goes over to Oz, is doing the like classic, like, oh man, you dating a junior? Bet it's because she puts out. You should tell me all about it. Tell me about her boobs. Like, what? Why? You know what I mean? What is even, okay. But then this
also,
girl.
thank you, Thigh Master.
Yes. So, right, because this girl comes over, he knocks the books out of her hands.
Right.
So that she bends over and he can check out her, you'd think
skirt?
Her ass, but he's actually really, he makes comments about her thighs.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
also, do you remember Thigh Master?
Yes, I was going to say, last time I had a moment like this, it was with the Gigapet, and I bought one.
Please don't buy a Thigh Master. Please don't eBay a Thigh Master while I'm out of the house. Please. We don't need a Thigh Master. We're fine.
I was just like, why were Thigh Masters
Wait, actually, now that I'm thinking about it,
you
I kind of
want
want a Thigh Master.
Okay. But why were they such a big deal?
Because infomercials.
But like, why the Thigh Master? Like, why did everyone get the Thigh Master?
It was just a trend. It just like caught on like wildfire.
It's just like it only works one thing, your thighs, just one thing.
But the thing is that like,
I guess probably your butt too.
Yeah. I think maybe we're societally moving towards a more holistic approach to things every day, but we had to start from somewhere that was more compartmentalized. With the thighs
work. I will say that in the early 2000s, I lived with my friend Ingrid, and she is notorious for her desire to purchase everything off of the television set at like 3 a.m. And she purchased us both the ab slider.
What? You don't need two?
Well, it was like a buy one now and get
Go-go?
the second free, So,
no.
I think it was the ab. No, it wasn't the ab slider. It was like this disc that like you put your knees in these like knee bowls. They were called knee bowls because I remember assembling it. You put your knees in the knee bowls and then you like, it was like on a circle track. And
did you like knee bowl and then you nobbled, but you didn't fall down?
Wow.
Cool.
Thanks, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Anyway, I will say that we had a great time on those machines for about one day, and then we put them on the curb because who uses them? Anyway.
Thinking about things you wish you could have not done. Then Willow, in talking to Buffy about how she like wants Oz to like get on with it already, is like, I don't want to be the only girl in school without a real boyfriend.
Yeah.
Weeks ago, this wasn't even a blip on Willow's radar. She was like, I love my computers.
I know, but
I'm not concerned.
She's awakening. She's blossoming like a flower in the springtime, Jenny.
Blossoming into someone who says things like 1-800, I'm dating a skanky hoe.
Yeah, that's where I thought you were going at first. That's a really rough moment. There's a couple of moments in this episode. I mean, this is a rough moment because it's directed at Cordelia and it's like girl on girl hate based on like sexual activity, which is just super, super bummer town, especially because, it just doesn't seem like it's in their wheelhouse to like shame based on, you know what I mean? Like Willow just 2 weeks ago was like, yeah, seize that shit, Buffy.
Right. But what we're seeing is like classic misdirect, like redirect your disappointment, your sorrow, and your anger at Xander for not wanting you back at Cordelia, the object of his affection.
Right. And I think that Cordelia also gets pushed into that category because I as I was saying that, I was like, well, but Willow was super into Buffy like doing it with Angel because they were like in love and like Buffy had never done it before. And I do think that there's like a really marked difference in the perception of people, but especially like in the perception of girls in the 90s, speaking as a person who was a girl in the 90s, where, if you were like having sex, that wasn't necessarily bad, but if you were like having sex with a bunch of people or like even making out with a bunch of people, that was like that would put you in a particular category. And that's what Willow is saying here, and it's really rough. And she kind of brings it on herself later on when she's in the library and Buffy is like, yo, you need to take action, you need to be the one to make the first move. And she's like, but what if that, like, doesn't that make me a slut? And Buffy doesn't it's like, I just want them to be I want them to be woke. You know, I want them to be like, no, of course not, Willow. And you shouldn't refer to yourself as a slut. You should love your body. And but of course they don't, because they're teenagers and they don't know yet that they're being manipulated by a system larger than
what
themselves.
system is that?
It's the patriarchy.
Oh,
Jenny, it is the patriarchy.
I've heard of that somewhere on a podcast, perhaps.
So speaking of the patriarchy, then we go
Lover's Lane.
Lover's Lane. Okay, I have to just ask you, because I have seen this in movies and television shows for my whole life, and I have never experienced it ever, that there was a place where multiple people would drive to make out. Is this something that you know and have experienced?
Well, I lived like in the woods.
Right.
So the population wasn't really dense enough for us, I think, to require a lover's lane.
Oh, maybe
there were
that's-
like individual back road pockets.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, like, we
Make
would
your
definitely
own 2-person lover's lane. However many
Exactly.
people you're with, whatever, it's fine.
But there wasn't like a hot spot, at least for me, and maybe that's for similar reasons. Maybe there was just enough roads in upstate New York.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
not-
sometimes movie theaters were a thing.
Yeah, that's true, but not. I just feel like I missed out on something. Is all I'm saying. You know, like a bunch of cars parked with all the windows steamed up. It just seems so fun. So if anyone knows of any good parking spots, necking spots in Los Angeles, let us know so that Jenny and I can go.
Yeah, so we
Relive
can go
our youth.
necking. Yeah,
Go
you just
necking.
reminded me of the first time that I was in a movie theater with a boy who used our time in the movie to attempt to make out with me. I don't know if we like actually.
Oh yeah, I remember my
If
first
it
movie
was
make
prolonged.
out.
Well, my
What was
movie
the
was
movie?
Varsity Blues,
Ooh,
starring James Vanderbeek of Dawson's Creek fame.
Wow, what a connection!
Yeah, sharing the time block now with
Mine.
Buffy.
So that was later on. Then, do you remember what year that was?
I was probably like a sophomore.
Okay,
or
yeah.
junior. Or something.
Because my first movie make out was Baby's Day Out.
What is that?
I don't know. The only reason I remember the movie title is because I was.
Is it a prequel to Dirty Dancing?
I
Is it a
wish.
movie about an actual baby?
It's there's an actual baby.
You can't.
It's like the classic movie where like the baby's in a runaway stroller. Like I think that's like what the deal is. You know, like it's like totally ridiculous. And I went to the
What?
movies with this guy and we made out.
Wow.
And I think I was in maybe 9th grade.
Uh-huh.
Baby's Day Out. Somebody do the research. Find out when Baby's Day Out was released. This is just like Quest for Camelot. Like the only reason that this movie is being put into the universe is because it has a very specific foothold in my life. Anyway.
Great. Yes, moving right along.
Cordelia, do you even want to be here? Is like her general vibe.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. And I think this is really interesting because I think this like indicates that Cordelia has feelings here, right? Because Cordelia would not deal with this shit.
Mm-mm.
Like we have never seen her put up with anyone's bullshit, and yet she's putting up with Xander's bullshit. Like
It's interesting.
It's very questionable. I don't understand, and the only reason that I could give to this is that she has feelings,
Right.
and she probably doesn't know what those are. You know,
Right.
they're very new to her. I want to say, I love Cordelia, but I have a real problem with how she calls her father daddy. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable.
We have received multiple Twitter requests to not daddy shame.
I'm not daddy shaming. I'm daddy shaming in the context of it being your actual father.
Right. Okay, great.
That's all you can.
Great. Just to be clear, I just want to
I am super
be respectful.
We've received multiple Twitter requests about this episode, or just about like
Not
previous
this episode.
daddy
Previous daddy shaming.
I'm not daddy shaming. If you have a daddy, that is totally awesome and great.
It's just that at a certain point, like post bat mitzvah, post quinceañera, post your debutante coming out ball, however you transition into young womanhood, that is absolutely the hard cutoff,
right
For calling your dad
actual father
daddy.
I just and there's also like a context here because it's
It's
I
like
mean,
you're infantilizing yourself.
right, and I mean it's such a trope with like rich girls, right? Like I think that's
Right,
why Cordelia
right.
is saying this is
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's really positioning her as like the rich girl because she specifically says like daddy's car, right? So that's why she's saying it. I get it. I'm just saying that like most things Cordelia does turn me on. This turns me off. It's you. Maybe you're into it. I'm not trying to shame you if you like it. I'm just telling you, Cordelia. If you and I are going to be together, we're going to have a conversation.
What?
About...
Wait, that's not the only conversation you're gonna have to have. But also, like, you do you.
Yeah.
I just want to support you and see you happy.
And then, Jenny, we get our first look at some of the most...
Spared no expense.
Guys, the werewolf, though.
It looks great.
It is the silliest. It's like
they had everything ready. Like the scripts had been circulated. Everyone learned their line. The sets were built. Everything was ready to go. And then they realized, just as they were about to shoot the first scene with the werewolf, oh shit, we forgot to get a werewolf costume. And then Jerome, in costuming, ran down to Party City and was like, do you have werewolf costumes? They're like, well, it's off season, so we only have the ones that didn't sell because they're so bad.
Yeah, buried
They're in
underneath.
aisle 17.
Yeah, buried underneath a pile of witch hats, matted and squished was the werewolf costume.
Oh no!
That they used. And what's incredible about this werewolf costume is that not only is it so ridiculous, but the camera cannot stop.
The camera loves it.
The camera loves it. It can't
Can't keep the camera. There's no. It's like in Signs. You know how like Signs is happening and you're like, oh, this movie is interesting and cool, and if we never see the alien, that would be great. But then you just start seeing the alien in like daylight and like all over the place, and it's like, I think this would be more effective if there was some sort of like shroud of mystery,
right? Like a little shadow,
or just shroud of darkness.
They're like, hey, lighting team, what do you think about how should we light the full lighting,
spotlight?
Full blast, every hair on its head. We can see every tooth in its ridiculous mouth. It is lit.
Yeah.
But here before the credits, actually all we get is the silhouette. And you still can tell that it is the silliest. They should have just put an actual dog in the shot and it would have been better than this bobble-headed, ridiculous excuse for a werewolf. I'm sorry. Okay.
So
then Cordelia's driving.
Well, first,
before
Cordelia is driving, I'm just going to say, I think pretty regularly about all of the reasons not to have or drive a ragtop convertible.
Oh, yeah.
Similar to driving a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or like a Jeep that just has, roll bars.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're putting yourself at risk.
And you just mean in general risk.
In general, I wasn't even factoring in werewolves previously, but a ragtop convertible is a perfect vehicle to get grabbed from above by any clawed monster.
And there are many here. We're on the HellMath.
So many. Who's gonna have particularly? Oh, I bet the insurance for soft top convertibles is way higher on the HellMath than it is elsewhere.
Oh yeah, the HellMath definitely.
Probably just insurance rates in general are
we
pretty
should check
high.
with Geico.
Yeah. And that's not the only reason, right?
Right.
Cordelia's insurance might be high.
Right. It might be the 14 cars she's destroyed in a season and a half of the show. But right, the werewolf reaches through. Cordelia knows exactly what to do. Put that key in, turn the car on, and slam your foot on whatever pedal you find.
Any old pedal.
Any old pedal will do. The car flies into reverse. I just get such a thrill every time Cordelia, like one of the plot points is like, and then Cordelia drives her car.
It never disappoints.
No, it really doesn't. And then Xander takes a turn. This is where Xander takes his first turn into Asshole Alley, where the car is speeding off, and they have just been attacked by a werewolf. Cordelia has managed to get the fucking werewolf off of the car, and you hear Xander, as they pull away, say, "See, I told you I saw something. I want to murder you. I want to murder you." I was so angry with him, and then the scene cuts, and we're in now Sunnydale.
I don't know if I heard something, and you were like, no.
As we were pulling away when I almost died, you would say?
Well, I guess when we almost got attacked by bears that one time, we did wait until we got back to the car to get in a fight about it.
Yes, correct. Jenny and I almost got killed by bears once. That's a story.
A story for another podcast.
A story for another day. But you at least take a breath. He doesn't take a breath, and that's what bothers me. Yeah. Fine, he was right. But, like, that's the thing. Like, he has to always say when he's right. He always has to say when he's fucking right. Jenny, I can't take it. And then we cut to the next scene, because I'm already annoyed now. We go to the next scene. They're in the parking lot. Buffy's examining the claw holes, and she's like, yes.
Werewolfian.
And she says, "Are you sure it was a werewolf?" And Xander can't just say yes. He can't just fucking say yes. He's got to say, well, I don't know, Buffy. It was like 6 feet tall, and he was hairy.
Wolfy, and a face, and a snout.
maybe I'm a dummy, but maybe you're like just. Oh, Xander. So now I'm off to the races because Xander has started to piss me off. But
Well, he's in a worse state than regular,
Yes.
right? Like he had his heightened emotions. He's got his like news ticker of like Buffy should date me running in the background somewhere on a lower
Willow's
volume. And now he's like, whoa, Willow with another dude.
Right.
I don't like this.
No, he's definitely like that's the thing. He's definitely on Xander overload. I'm totally like and we know because we've watched the episode now that they're taking Xander on like a major arc or even a roller coaster ride. And this so they're certainly and I get it and I get where his emotions are coming from. But me, Kristen Russo, I'm pissed off. I'm not having it. I don't want you to correct me and tell me that you were right. I don't need it. I don't need it in
You know
my
what
life.
you do need?
What do I need?
When
Willow?
you're worried about the fate of bunnies when there's a werewolf on the loose, you need Oz to tell you that bunnies can really take care of themselves.
You're right. I do. I love this. I love this moment. And I love also, speaking of clothing, like costume choices by the dressing department. What are they called?
I don't know, wardrobe, costuming?
Yeah. But Willow is wearing a little t-shirt that we see for the first time in this scene in the parking lot with a doe on it, like a little deer, which is very symbolic.
Doe? A deer?
Yes.
A female deer?
Yes.
That's the whole
That's all you know.
narrative of the deer in the song. Nothing else happens to the deer.
A cute little doe-eyed deer. You're all welcome.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Willow has a cute little doe-eyed deer on her shirt, which is, of course, this like larger symbolism for her role with this relationship with Oz, who we find out is a werewolf later in the episode.
Right. But so they're talking about like, I guess we'll have to like wait until next month to try to like catch this werewolf. And Willow's like, well, what about the full moon? That's tonight. And they're like, wait, the full moon was... Okay, so werewolf mythology expanding. Night before the full moon. Night after the full moon.
Right, that we have a
right?
three-window...
Also, Willow just happens to be actively tracking the lunar cycle. She's like, oh, well, tomorrow's the full moon.
Yeah, that makes sense to
according
me.
to my lunar...
Yeah, she probably
studies.
has like an app on her computer, you know?
There were no apps in 1998.
A widget. I don't know.
There were no widgets. You're a widget. Anyway, Giles is elated. One of the classics.
Oh my God, Giles cannot.
He can't keep it together.
He is more excited about this werewolf than we've seen him about most things.
My
in
books
this
and I
series.
are in for a fascinating afternoon.
Came close to taking the sexual tension award.
Giles and werewolf mythology.
And werewolf mythology, precisely. Yeah, so Giles is all hopped up. I also, before we leave this scene, I want to talk about the fact that Buffy is wearing a cross necklace that is different. You see her wear how many? My question to you, the listener, is how many? I want to know how many flipping cross necklaces does Buffy Summers own?
Somebody out there knows.
Right? I just want to know. Like, that is like quintessential trivia. How many does she own? We've seen like at least 8 at this point.
Yeah, there have been a lot.
There have been so many. So that's all.
Please let us know.
Anyhow, then we go to gym class.
Self-defense class. I never had self-defense class in gym. I had self-defense class.
Me too. I had like zip lining. You know what I mean? Like just
You had zip lining?
Yeah, we had like a ropes course in our gym class.
We had a month of square dancing when I was a senior.
Oh wow. We had a dance part of gym.
But like regular dancing, not square dancing.
Wow, you're doing some shaming on square dancing.
No, I'm saying. Oh yeah, I am shaming square dancing. I mean, I'm just like from the woods. Right. That's all. And all of our gym teachers were like really excited about it. Like we got the impression that they all like went to like town square dances when they were our age. So they were like really into it. And all of us were just like mortified.
I mean, right. It's not cute if you're the high school student having to do it. But now looking
and
back,
having to dance with like
cute.
every boy.
Yeah. My dance class, I mean,
not that there's anything wrong with boys or dancing with them. But in high school, it's like everything is mortifying.
Yeah.
So like,
you
know.
Yeah. Now, did your gym teacher wear a tracksuit is what I want to know.
All my gym teachers wore tracksuits at different points. Undoubtedly.
This gym teacher nails it. I just feel like the casting department was like, hey, we need to cast a gym teacher. We'd like Jodie Foster in a tracksuit. And they
were like, how about this?
They found this woman. You know what I mean? I love the gym teacher. Shout out to you, gym teacher.
Great.
Then Larry being a giant asshole again.
Lord.
Be still my shorts.
The worst thing I've
ever heard. Is a line that he says to Teresa before he then partners with Buffy and grabs her entire ass.
And is rewarded for it by being thrown across the room.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I mean, that is like beyond the pale.
They really took this far.
Yeah.
They really took it far. And
And like, did they need to take it this far for the payoff of what happens later with Larry? I don't know.
I don't either. But I mean, we do get, at least we get the satisfaction, because we get satisfaction in this scene with Larry that I feel we do not get with Kane, who we haven't yet.
Kane does not get what's coming to him.
No, but I have a lot to say about what Kane gets at the end. But like, we don't get that like gratification of a dude saying like, "Hey, I'm more powerful than you," and Buffy saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up," which is like what I want as a viewer. And so we get that in this scene where like automatically Larry does something super fucked up and then gets flipped on his back and learns his lesson. Probably not, but yeah. So Larry gets a flip.
Then we go to the library where research is being done with an Earth and Moon globe. This is so what I wrote down in my notes was, this is something I need.
A moon globe?
In my home.
A moon globe, yeah.
A Earth and Moon connected globular system that I can hold a flashlight up to demonstrate the light and dark sides of the moon.
For me? You're going to demonstrate this for me?
For all of us! Can we have it? Please.
Yes, Jenny, we can have
If anyone knows where to find it, please let us know.
I have just been, every day I walk around this house and I think, you know what it's missing? A globular system. It just, I can feel it in my bones that if there was a globular system in this house, I would
would finally feel like a home.
Content. Also, Giles loses his mind over Xander's moon pie joke, which is a moment I really love. He's like,
really great.
Moon pie. I cannot. So then we get to this amazing scene in the library, and we're just going to play a sound clip to illustrate what we love about the scene in the library.
And it acts on pure instinct, no conscience, predatory and aggressive.
In other words, your typical male.
On behalf of my gender, hey.
Yes, let's not jump to any conclusions.
I didn't jump. I took a tiny step, and their conclusions were.
I took a tiny step, and their conclusions were.
Just a tiny step, Buffy. We feel you. Oh, I love when the series, because the series, of course, we talk about the patriarchy every week, but I love when it just takes a nice little moment out of its day to be like, let's talk about it directly. Buffy being like, yes, what you're describing, I know you're describing an animal, but turns out, tiny step to the left. You're just describing every man I've ever known. And I love that Giles gets a little flustered. Giles gets defensive, too. It's not just Xander who's like, hey, Giles is like, excuse me, but these werewolves can also be women. We had like a double take moment because Giles actually says like, they're not only men, they can be women or
anyone who's been bitten by a werewolf.
Anyone who's been bitten. And so we were like, is Giles acknowledging non-binary genders in 1998? But then just a moment later, we hear him say like him or her. And we kind of put it together that he was meaning a child can also become a werewolf. But whatever, we'll take it. We'll pretend that he's talking about non-binary people.
Progressive in the 90s was women could be werewolves too.
Yeah, it was a different time. So, right. So I think the last thing that I want to touch on before we go to the next scene in the library is this very important bit of a werewolf's existence, which is that a werewolf is still a human being. All the other days that it's not a werewolf, which really complicates the monster narrative that we usually, follow, which is it's a monster, it's bad, we kill it. Right. Obviously, that's not just the only monster narrative. There's a couple of really complicated monster narratives also going on. But I like the fact that it's complicated because this only happens 3 days out of the month.
Yeah, like 10% of the month.
Right. So it's just interesting. Like, what's the math there? How many days of the month do you need to be a monster for you to be a killable monster?
Right.
All of the days? Or, you know what I mean? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Anyhow, then we go back to Lover's Lane.
Giles and Buffy are in detective mode.
They are. I really want Lover's Lane to have like a fun, punny name for Sunnydale. So if anything comes to you,
let us know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I meant you meant Jenny, me? But yes, or our listeners.
Giles's plan is like, let's knock on windows of cars and see if anyone's seen anything.
Giles does not get it. Also, shout out to the fact that Buffy has upgraded her disguise outfit. We have moved from a tan trench coat and tiny sunglasses to a black trench coat with a black Scully cap.
Yes,
she's ready.
She just got off her shift down at the docks. And now it's time for werewolf detecting.
So Giles doesn't understand what making out means. Buffy sees some scandalous things about Sunnydale High School students. That's a great moment. And then, of course, Buffy gets snapped up into Kane's werewolf trap.
This guy
This
is the worst.
guy. It's like this episode was really designed for you and I to just be angry the whole time.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of you listening. I mean, it's like he is infuriating. And I just want him to get his, like, from this very first moment. And I give Buffy a lot of credit because she contains herself. She keeps herself composed.
Praise.
This reminded me of watching the presidential debates leading up to the election and being like, I would vote for this woman solely for the fact that she hasn't picked up an entire table and thrown it at this man's head. Like, I was just so impressed by the fact, because I would just snap. And Buffy keeps her cool despite Kane being the worst human.
Oh, God. Good to get the fruit while it's fresh.
Fruit while it's fresh. Disgusting. His tooth necklace over his turtleneck. Disgusting.
Yeah, this turtleneck is a bummer. I mean, I love a good tooth necklace. I'll tell you what.
Specifically on this man over
Yeah,
his turtleneck
it's the
sweater.
worst.
As trophies for the werewolves he has killed, skinned, and sold for money. I am not
it's
into
a bummer.
it. And also one of his character development points is that he's hunted an elephant. And I'm sorry, I had a conversation recently with somebody who was like, well, so and so has killed an elephant, but like got all the right permits and got all the right whatevers and like gave the meat to the people in the town that he had hunted the elephant and like did everything right. And I was like, I have all the room in my heart for everything you're saying, except I don't at all, because you still killed an elephant. How do you kill an elephant? This is again my personal stuff. Like, I don't know, but I'm sure there's other ways of looking at the world and whatever. But to me, it's just like this majestic, brilliant creature, so smart. So Kane, fuck off. That's what I have to say to you.
Yes.
There's a lot of cursing in this episode. It's because of all the patriarchy. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
He does get a sweet burn in when he says that Giles looks like he's auditioning to be a librarian.
Yes, and Giles is so insulted.
Incensed.
He's like, I've already gotten the role of the librarian.
Yeah. And we also learn in this scene that werewolves are apparently suckers for sexual heat.
Yes, they love. There was a werewolf behind the scenes at every sexual tension awards site since the beginning of time. You just didn't see them there.
Okay, so in the next scene, Teresa is walking home
I'm sorry,
night.
You're not allowed to go there until we at least say Mind Furrier.
Oh, I forgot about Mind Furrier.
Okay, that's all. We just have to say it. We can't.
Mind Furrier.
Mind Furrier. Okay,
Great.
Teresa.
Okay, Teresa is walking home at night. She hears something behind her. She's getting more and more spooked. She runs smack into Angel, and we witness the passage of time as demarcated by the fact that Angel has now been evil long enough to go to CVS and buy some eyeliner. Evil Angel wears eyeliner. There it is. He was finally able to pick some up at the all-night CVS.
Do you think he was like really uncomfortable until he got his eyeliner? Like he was evil and he was like, this just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. He's like, I've been smoking. I've been putting like white powder on my face so I look more undead. But I need to bring out my eyes somehow.
Do you think that he actually went to CVS to buy his eyeliner? Because I just feel like he probably is sharing with Spike. You know what I mean? Like, Spike totally has eyeliner.
But I don't think Spike shares.
Oh, okay.
With Angel.
I see.
I don't think that's
okay.
their
They're not
vibe.
right. Okay, fair. Not even nail polish? Okay, fine. But Teresa, I'd like to give a shout out to Teresa.
She's great.
She's great. What a great character that we only get to hang out with for a short while. I just think that her acting is great. Like the moment when she's like surprised by Angel and she's still scared about what's behind her, I thought was just wonderful.
Yeah.
I just love her character. As little of her as we get to see. But I also wanted to take a Kate moment here and say, nice plaid peacoat, Teresa. Yeah. I too had a plaid peacoat.
Oh, did you?
In the 1990s.
Wow.
And I appreciate you. Speaking of outfits, unless you have more to say about Teresa and
it.
Angel, I would like to give a major shout out to Cordelia's outfit in the next scene at the Bronze when she is wearing a Tommy Hilfiger turtleneck sweater with a stripe across the chest that says Tommy Hilfiger, a fold-over turtleneck that has the Tommy Hilfiger colors striped across the bottom of the fold. It is wonderful. I love it. I love it so much. And the only thing I love more is that our girls are back together again.
Yeah. Reunited, and it feels so good.
God.
Just griping together about Xander and Oz and guys.
God, they hate. they're in the bronze on a tiny little couch together, hating men together. Oh, it's great. It's just, it's what dreams were made of,
Yes.
I think. I would like to give Cordelia her jingle for her Tommy Hilfiger sweater and for this wonderful love affair, which I would like to award sexual tension for.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Anytime I can give it to Cordelia and Willow, I always will.
Perfect.
So, Cordelia, for you, a jingle.
Cordelia, I love you, Cordelia. You're perfect, Cordelia.
Oh,
Great.
praise heavens. We haven't heard the Cordelia jingle in a couple of episodes now. I was starting to feel
Moment.
nervous. I also just want to say, Jenny, I think we're really in some territory now for a Willow jingle.
Oh.
This episode in particular, I think, has inspired my feelings. I mean, I've always had them, but they're growing, and I think I just want to put a bug in your ear.
Okay. I'll have a think on
That
it.
I think we should really work on that.
Okay.
Before we leave this, I just want to quote the line, "Guys, who do they think they are?" And Willow says, "Couple of guys." So good.
This is really good.
Oh, so good. So then, of course, the werewolf.
The werewolf is at the bronze.
Yes, heat seeking leads him to the bronze.
Everyone runs out of the bronze. Buffy's rolling up
They slam the door
behind her. For some reason, the werewolf did not chase any humans, any flesh bodies.
Jenny, he was too busy knocking every single table
Every
over.
table
He
over.
was like, "Oh, they're all leaving, but there's still 3 tables standing." I must.
Pop, pop, pop. Then he leads Buffy on a chase through several beaded curtains.
Yes, this is a moment for me where I was like, "Oh my god, I had those! I had those beaded curtains. I put them in my bedroom doorway so that even though my mom made me keep my door open, I still had some level of privacy."
40% privacy.
Yeah,
Kind of like Angel with his blind
with
lighting.
those Venetian blinds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me in the 90s with beaded curtains. And then there must be just a great moment with the werewolf because I just have in all caps written down, "Oh God, this werewolf."
Oh, I think what you're referring to is after the werewolf exits the bronze, comes out into the moonlit alley. Oh God, that's gonna kill me. Does this sort of T-Rex pose,
And then kind of dances for a second.
twists for 2 revolutions, and then runs off into the night.
Oh God.
And comes across the body of our dearly departed
Yes, Teresa. Mm-hmm.
and we see this sort of monster face-off.
I called it a hissing contest.
You are smart and funny, and I married you
It is
on
right?
purpose.
It's like the werewolf's hissing and fucking Angel's hissing, and Angel gets out-hissed.
Yeah.
And there's a real there's a real dog-cat situation happening here, where obviously the werewolf is the dog, and Angel is very cat-like.
Oh yeah.
Because Angel has this look on his face, he's growling and he knows he's out-hissed, but he's rolling his eyes about it like a cat,
yeah.
fine, I guess you
I
could
wasn't
kill
even
me.
trying to out-hiss you.
Yeah.
I was just like...
Right. And so 2 things before we even get to the hissing contest is Kane. This is what happens when a woman tries to do a man's
Shut up,
job.
Kane. Shut up.
I literally, if these microphones weren't so expensive, I would bend it in half.
As though it were a long...
as though it were
gun?
a long gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. For that line alone, because you can fucking go fuck yourself, Kane.
Yeah.
That was me trying to censor myself and failing at every turn.
Right. But at least you didn't offend anyone else by implicating them in relations with Kane.
No. Also, I just We already made fun of the bronze table tippage, but the fact that like the minute the werewolf goes back into the alley, like 4 bronze employees immediately go back in. They're like cleaning up. They're just like,
Pans. They're like, again?
Yeah,
This
like
is the
they
4th
don't
time
even-
this week a
Just
werewolf
shout
has
out
been in to
shout
tip
out
over all the tables.
Yeah. Shout out to the bronze employees, you know?
Hard workers.
Hard workers. They always have to clean up that joint. Okay, so this is why, next scene is why we find out why we have the dollar store werewolf costume. It is because they spent their entire budget on morphing the $1 costume into Oz,
Who is priceless.
who is priceless, via the technology used in Michael Jackson's Black or White video. That's what. As soon as it happened, I was like, "It doesn't matter if you're black or
You were
white."
both times.
Both times. Both. I just can't. I mean, that's such a memory from right. I mean, do you not have this like memory of that video coming out? It was like mind blowing that the people morphed into other people, and then that he morphed into a jaguar at the end.
Wow, we didn't have MTV until I was like,
Oh, you're
in
missing
latter
out. Well, do you
high
after
school.
this? You want to watch the video?
Probably,
for
that
Black
would
and
be
White
good,
from Michael
yeah.
Jackson. Okay, it was a big deal because it was like I think it was like really new technology and like really expensive technology.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get that here. So that's the budget. That's where it
Great.
went. Oz has this like incredible response to waking up naked in the forest.
Yeah.
He just says, "Huh." Then he goes home and he calls his aunt and he's like, "Yo, is my cousin a werewolf?" And like, what the fuck happens on this phone conversation?
The aunt is just like, yes. And he's like, how long has that been going on? And she's like, a couple weeks. Why? And he's like, no reason. Give my love to Uncle Ken.
But also, like, the aunt knows that he got bit.
Yeah, so
by
what?
the
This is
kid.
irresponsible
That's what I'm
werewolf
saying.
parenting.
Yeah, I agree. That was my point. Also, Oz is wearing another New York shirt. I just wanted to shout that out because we saw Oz wearing a New York Rangers shirt in his first moment, and now he's wearing a New York yoga shirt. And I just feel like there's something there. That's all. I like it. I like the New York shout outs.
So moving into the next scene, we see Oz get to school and he's walking through the hallways and this is the first time we've seen him anywhere close to flapped. He is flapped as hell.
He's so upset. And that's what's so interesting is that like he was totally calm, cool, and collected until he got confirmation that he was a werewolf. And now,
started, as any of us would, thinking about the larger implications.
Yes. What does this mean? Who can I tell? Interesting metaphor.
Am I going to hurt somebody?
An interesting parallel is drawn here. Of course, we haven't gotten to Larry yet, but I want to talk when we get there about the fact that they've kind of laid over this like Oz finding out he's a werewolf with Larry coming out as gay. There's like this overlap that's a little confusing to me, but we'll get there. For now, why don't we get to the part where Xander slips and lets Buffy know that he actually does remember being a fucking hyena. Which is so problematic and upsetting because when Xander was a hyena, he did super, super messed up stuff to Buffy at the school and pretended like he didn't remember it instead of taking ownership and apologizing for his atrocious actions.
Gross.
So not a great moment there for Xander. But we will turn some bends with Xander. They're coming despite this nonsense.
Xander does put together like, oh, Larry, predator, werewolf. Larry got bit by a dog.
Yes, but I found this very odd because they are very clear with the definition of a werewolf that like it brings out your most animalistic self for 3 nights.
Support for today's episode comes from OneSkin. And if you have sensitive skin, you're going to want to hear about their scientifically proven topical supplements. Free from over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives that can make skin red, irritated, or itchy, their products are safe for sensitive skin. It's just one of the reasons they've earned the Skin Safe seal of approval.
They've also earned the Jenny Owen Youngs and Kristen Russo seal of approval, if I do say so myself, Jenny.
I couldn't agree more. I've been using OneSkin for a few months, and after a few weeks, I remember it like it was yesterday. I texted Kristen, and I was like, maybe she's born with it. I looked in the mirror that morning and was like, oh, things are happening, and I am happy.
I have used 1 billion skin products, and I did not think that I was going to switch off of the skin like lotion, the moisturizer that I used and the under eye cream that I used because I have used them for a little while and I really like them. And I've switched completely, which is a pretty big deal. OneSkin is the world's first Skin Longevity Company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Get started today with 15% off using code BUFFERING at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co with code BUFFERING. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, and if you can, please tell them that we sent you.
Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira, pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
Right. So I'm very confused here about how everyone suddenly pivots that to mean that as a person, you're animalistic and you act out and you whatever.
I think they're just flailing. I think they just don't know. They've never dealt with this before, so they're just kind of like turning over every rock they can think of. Just gonna say, Larry said, I believe, that the dog had bit him a couple of weeks ago, which would not fit in at all with the lunar cycle of the werewolf vibe.
Well, why? Because you have to get bit when because the baby bit.
Okay, but the baby was a baby when the baby bit Oz.
Oh, right. Okay, got it. Because the dog would have been a dog
bit Larry.
Okay, got it.
When the moon was not full.
I see. Good math, Jenny.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So then, so they think it's Larry, and Xander goes to the locker room, and oh, what a scene.
Yo, I think this is really great.
Yeah, I do too. I'm like way into this scene. It's done.
I love that Xander says, I know what you've been doing at night.
I know.
And that's when Larry's like, stop sticking your nose.
Has Larry been in like the gay bushes? Like what's
Probably.
going on? Sunnydale is so expansive. It has so many opportunities for people. Gay bushes,
gay
docks.
bushes, many alleys.
So many alleys. Maybe there's gay alleys instead of gay bushes.
Maybe it's all subdivisions of different alley neighborhoods.
Yes. Yeah.
Gay alleys, the arts alleys.
Ooh, nice.
That's where the bronze is.
So I think that this scene is done really, really well.
My favorite thing about this is when Larry is like kind of like pacing around and he's about to say it, and then he turns and says like, what are people going to think of me when they find out I'm gay? Oh. And then his face is really great. He has this like, you see him kind of hearing himself say it out loud for the first time, and it's like very powerful, but it's cut very short because they go to the reaction shot of Xander, which has to be like prolonged in order to like really have the effect.
Yeah, but Xander, I have a note down to give Xander credit for not Xander, but Nicholas Brendan's acting, I thought, was incredible too. That his reaction is amazing. It's not like the scene is handled so delicately and respectfully. There's not like shock and awe built into it really at all. Like obviously it's a pivotal moment and Xander is like, whoa, this is not where I saw this going.
Right.
But Xander does not have a response of like, whoa, what? You're gay? Xander's like, oh, wow, we are in a different place than I thought we were going to be. Yeah. How do I handle this?
Coupled with, I just said I have gone through the same thing.
And he struggles with that, but I gave Xander a lot of credit and maybe too much. I don't know. You can let us know what your thoughts are on this scene. But I just thought that Xander really handled himself pretty well. And like, it wasn't like he didn't protest too much.
Right. The amount of like the fraction of no homo is like so much smaller in his response than I think we would expect from something that was made in this time.
Yes. And that we would expect from Xander. You know? Like that's what
his fragile masculinity, right?
Right. And I have like a new little spot opening in my heart for Xander. And I'm not saying that this is perfectly handled, but like, you know, we are dealing with, you know, teenagers in the 1990s dealing with the patriarchy as well and dealing with the masculinity that they are being challenged to present. Mm-hmm. So like there are a lot of factors and I have a space in my heart for Xander that wasn't there before this scene because I think that he did a pretty decent job with Larry here. And Larry, man, talk about like turning on a dime.
Yeah, his face is like soft.
He's so
all
sweet.
Of a sudden.
And sorry to turn this corner right now, but one of my other thoughts, and I don't know if this is going to be upsetting to people or not, but I just feel like, okay, Two guys are in a locker room. They're both in high school. They've both just come out to each other in Larry's mind.
Right.
There is no way that you could tell me that Larry wouldn't have it in his brain that like they were going to hook up. And I'm not saying that
it's just a numbers game.
It's a numbers game. And I'm saying that as a person who was gay in high school, that if I met another person who was gay in my high school, there's no way I wouldn't be like, well, I guess we have to make out.
Yeah.
That is not to hammer the stereotype of all gay people are attracted to all other gay people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, when you're in high school and you don't know anyone else who's gay, although apparently Larry's been getting some in the gay alleys, I just feel like that was a little unbelievable to me that there wouldn't have even been a moment. But I like that there wasn't because I like what this scene was. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I remember high school and I remember being gay in high school. And maybe Larry just went home and was like, I wonder how I can like get closer to Xander.
Right.
Oh, I wish we saw that plot.
Now that he knows it's okay for him to be sensitive.
Oh, he picks up the books later. He's all nice. Okay, anyway.
Okay. So Willow's researching violent students on the computer.
Finding Buffy.
And finding mostly Buffy.
Yeah, and then in the following scene, we have Xander realizing that Willow and Cordelia are hanging out a whole bunch.
And he is sweating it out.
He's sweating it out, and I love it. Wow, these two gals are sure
spending a lot of time together.
Yeah. So Cordelia and Willow go to meet up so they can work on their, quote, homework.
Yeah.
Sure, girls. Sure, that's what you're doing. And then Xander and Buffy take the opportunity to go to the funeral home.
But before they do, Xander lets Buffy know that Larry is not the werewolf in what I think is like a pretty great
He's feeling really uncomfortable. And that's like kind of where, I'm not actually going to dock points from Xander because I really do have a lot of room for his process here. But this is where if we were going to dock points from Xander, we would. Because really the reason that Xander is keeping it to himself is mostly motivated, I think, by the fact that he's afraid that he'll implicate himself by outing Larry. So it's like points to Xander for not outing Larry, but not really, because I think the reason you're not saying anything is because you're scared that like people might think you're gay. Which again, I have room for all of this.
But seeing that fragility and panic in action is pretty amusing.
Yeah, no, it's great. So then Xander and Buffy go to the funeral home. Teresa has not been attacked by a werewolf. This is confirmed. And then has been attacked by a vampire. A vampire so brilliant that he has sired Teresa with the instructions that when she awakens and sees Buffy, she deliver a message from Angel, which is
pretty sick.
Yeah.
Pretty twisted.
I mean, Angel is pretty incredible at being horrible.
Yeah, he's really going hard. Also, for some reason that no one will ever be able to explain, Teresa's family has opted to bury her in a 60s flight attendant Halloween costume.
Hey, maybe it was her favorite outfit.
Maybe it was just down the aisle from the leftover werewolf costumes at Party City.
So, and this is a moment for Xander too. This
is maybe Xander's best moment of this series to date.
It's certainly Xander's best kill. I mean, this is incredible.
Oh, the kill.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
His best moment in the series to date, in my opinion, is
when he hugged.
Don't let him get to you. He's not the same guy you knew. That's like pretty great.
Okay, so let's. So
great kill with the funeral home easel.
With the easel feat, which is this tight kill. Like just really, really great. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't miss a beat. Buffy is super upset. And he takes care of her.
Yeah.
He does. And this is, I don't know that we've seen it in like little moments, but this is like active. It's like Xander is actively being like, wow, she needs me right now. And that's more important than my stuff. And he does it. So he gets some points.
Yeah.
This is good. He's not the same guy you knew, he says, which is like really, again, like this validating thing that Giles gave to Buffy in the last episode, like that he was in love with you. He did love you, that it was real, that Xander's really giving that to her too in this moment, that this was real and he's different now. And, what you knew was valid and true.
I'm getting very emotional.
Yeah, it was a good moment for them.
Listen, we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
For somebody who claims to be a seasoned werewolf hunter, don't you think Kane would find time during the daylight, non-hunting hours to be making his silver bullets in his van workshop?
Probably, but I will say that it's very satisfying to watch him make the silver bullets.
It kind of made me want to make some silver
bullets. Right?
bullets.
Me too. I would love to make a silver. Maybe we should pitch a workshop for next A camp, making silver bullets with Kristine and Jenny. One more thing about Kane before we go to the next scene is just what is with this guy's haircut? Like it's like he put his head in a blender and was like, "That's good. I'm ready to go for the werewolves, guys." Just saying. So then we go to Oz. Number one question I have.
Oh my gosh,
Oz. Where did you get these
Oz
puffs?
is like, thank God these manacles came from eBay just in time.
Like, what? They're like, really? But they're in like an old cardboard box. Like they were in the basement, you know?
Or
like,
they were just shipped from an eBay seller in Phoenix.
I don't know if you remember the 90s, Jenny, but you cannot get anything overnighted, even toothpaste, let alone.
I mean, I think he wanted them like days before, but they've only just arrived.
No, he just found out.
Sorry, I forgot. Well,
Today,
maybe he wanted them for something else, and then he was like, "Oh, thank God I wanted these at exactly the right time. I'm just trying to come up with stuff over here."
Anyway, Willow is on.
She's seizing the day.
A mission, and I love it. Oh, she barges in the door. She literally, she doesn't stop knocking until Oz gets up.
Hell yeah.
Then she gets inside the house and she's delivering this whole frantic speech about how this is enough is enough. And she has this mixed up line where she says, "What a girl makes has to be the first move." So she's all fired up and Oz is in a panic. And Oz is like, "Not now, please not now." And she is like, "No, I am finally seizing the day here."
Mm-hmm.
And then Oz falls behind the couch. And up he comes.
Then, yeah, pop goes the wolf.
And now, I would like to play for you. I have a little segment here that I would like to do about screaming, because I would like to play Willow's scream, which I think is incredible. Okay, so incredible, incredible scream by Willow. And I played it because as I listened to it, I was like, wow, that's a great scream. And it made me think of my favorite horror scream of all time, which is Patricia Arquette in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. She plays a character named Kristine. I know you know this. I've already talked about it. But she has the most incredible scream. And so I just want to play this. So this scream, this Patricia Arquette, it's an extended scream. And it is the scene in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 towards the end when Patricia Arquette is in this giant room with this huge rug, this patterned rug. And Freddy comes up through the floor as a giant worm with a giant fucking Freddy head. And he comes up out of the floor in a way that scoops her up in her, he eats her half of her body basically. And then the whole worm slams down on the rug with Patricia Arquette in Freddy's mouth. Ugh. It's really something. And so there's many screams we could have chosen of Patricia Arquette in this episode, but this is the one you're going to hear.
Music to my ears.
God, it's just I would please write to me and let me know if there is anyone in history who has had a better horror scream than Patricia Arquette. It's she gets the high pitch and then it rolls into this moan pitch. It's just, I'm just saying, I think it's an art form. I think it's beautiful. And Willow really taps into a little bit of that here. Mm-hmm. Nobody can touch my Patricia Arquette, but Willow takes a stab at it and does a pretty good job.
And then she runs and runs and runs and runs all the way to the library.
All the way to the library where Buffy is in another trench coat.
Buffy has so many trench coats.
That's another question. How many cross necklaces and how many trench coats does Buffy Summers have? She runs in. Oz is the werewolf. Mm-hmm. He's in the woods, but don't kill him.
Right, and they've got this tranquilizer gun they've been putting together, and Giles says, "Oh, well, it's full of phenobarbital," and he says that it's enough for one small elephant, so it should be enough for one large werewolf. And this is another installment of what segment I'd like to call HellMath. HellMath. Where we discuss mathematical equations and equivalencies that only occur in the HellMath.
In the HellMath. Last week we learned that true love plus one orgasm equals one negative soul. That was our HellMath.
And today we're learning that one small elephant is equivalent to one large werewolf in terms of phenobarbital. Great.
Excellent. So they get out into the woods. Oz is there. Kane is there. Kane's trying to kill Oz. Buffy kicks the gun, right? As he shoots it. Kicks the gun. Throws Kane off his game.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's just like this dance that happens. It's like, then Buffy is fighting. The wolf has Buffy up in the air in his arms, which
Giles
is
can't get a shot.
hilarious. Is just a man in a wolf suit holding Buffy. Buffy has a great move where she takes the gun that's on the wolf's neck and sort of like slams it down to get out of his grip. But she ricochets, knocks Giles and Willow down.
Three Stooges shit.
Really Three Stooge situation happening there. But then Willow grabs the gun. She doesn't hesitate.
Nah.
She picks up the gun. She aims it. She shoots Oz with the tranquilizer.
Hell yeah.
Oz goes down. Kane is pissed.
Yeah.
And now we get this moment between Willow. Now we get this moment between Buffy and Kane that at first, when we watched it the first time, I was disappointed because she just looks at him, she bends the gun, and she's like, now why don't you get out of this town? And I was like, come on, man. I like just wanted him to get beat up or like something. But I want to say, Jenny, on my second viewing, I was like, you know what? No, this is pretty tight. Like this is actually like the fucking way of a woman. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even have to drag you down, man. I'm just going to bend this gun, let you know that I could kick your ass and tell you to get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah.
I think it's probably more powerful than actually kicking his ass.
Yeah.
And I'm into it.
I would still have liked to see her kick his ass. But I think it's a great second option.
Yes.
So then, at the next day at school, we see Larry is transformed. He's picking up books for girls who are having books knocked out of their hands by guys who are like Larry used to be back when he was overcompensating.
Right, and this is where we get this direct overlay, you know, because Xander and Buffy walk in, and Buffy is talking about Oz and how it's going to be weird to see Oz now that he's transformed, and Xander has been having a conversation, which is of course odd because he knows that Buffy doesn't know.
Yeah.
But whatever, we'll let it fly. Xander's been having the conversation talking about Larry because Larry has transformed. Right? So there's two transformations that have happened here. And I just think it's an interesting thing because it's not like this parallel that has a lot of oh wow, and like the werewolf can symbolize this and like this is being gay and blah blah. Like I don't really exactly get it except for the fact that Larry has transformed because he's been able to speak about who he truly is, and that Oz has gotten to a place where he can accept who he truly is, which is a werewolf. You know, I think that's where the parallel stops. But I found it interesting, and I also just want to give one more shout out to Nicholas Brendan, the actor, for this moment he has where Larry is approaching and he doesn't want Larry to come over and talk to him because he's still feeling fragile about his masculinity. And so his like tactic to get Larry not to talk to him is to look at the vending machine and like run his fingers up and down the corner of the vending machine.
Very
it's
effective.
A really good moment. And so Larry and Xander have this moment that is kind of sweet. I mean, it isn't because it's laced with like Xander being, you know, all panicky. But I do just like, it's really sweet on Larry's part that he's coming over to be like, I just need to thank you again, man. Like, you really changed me.
And I think it's like really important that we acknowledge, I think this is like ahead of its time in terms of illustrating how damaging it is for a person who is gay to feel like they have to hold on to that, and how toxic it can be to sort of keep that to yourself and struggle with what it means in solitude.
Right. And how much pressure that puts on you, and how it
can manifest in overcompensation.
Exactly.
That's repulsive.
And, you know, and it's we're going to give the credit, of course, of how this is lined up with being gay and holding that in. But there's also something to be said about the fact that so much of what we see with toxic masculinity is a repression of things that men feel they cannot express because of what the world tells them, right? So it's not just with Larry and Larry not being able to say he's gay. It's also with a lot of the guys that we see in the high school who do keep knocking books out of people's hands.
Right.
And it's, you know, that's certainly not to excuse them for that behavior, but it is a really interesting thing, I think, to look at where that comes from. And you're right. This is like really ahead of the curve in terms of television tropes and stuff to see something like this, I think, to see it in such a balanced way. It's just so fucking balanced. Like they just do like a really sensitive job with it overall. And I love that. Then Xander starts to take another shitty turn here, right? He's like getting upset about Willow with Oz, just like the same way that he was upset about Angel and Buffy. Like, well, Angel's an animal or Angel's a monster, and now he's saying the same thing, and he starts to kind of spiral. And then
Willow's not safe,
right? But
he's also saying,
that.
I want control.
Yes.
Because he says, if it was up to me.
If it was up to me. And then there's a beautiful edit. Again, we rarely talk about the edits, but this is a beautiful edit because he says, if it were up to me, and then the scene changes to focus on Willow. Yeah. And then you hear Buffy say, Xander, it's not up to you. It's just so, I got like the chills just saying it because it's such a powerful moment for Buffy. Putting Xander in his place, and the way that it's framed, it feels like, and we'll be paying close attention to Xander as we always do, but we'll see how it affects Xander. But it just felt like the way that it was framed, it felt like maybe it landed, that maybe it actually landed with Xander, that like he was kind of out of bounds and that like he needed to kind of
rein it in,
figure your shit out, man. It's enough is enough. And that is what I think Buffy said in a very loving way, which I found to be very powerful. And then there we go, where I'd still if you'd still. Willow says, I know.
That's
and then,
really sweet.
I mean, Oz has to have the best lines of the series in terms of like,
and also one of the worst.
Oh, I know, right?
It's coming.
But overall, the character of Oz, he just has these great, like, if you were to say like, hey, who has like some really great 90s lines? It's like Oz all the time.
Yeah.
I'd very still. So then there's this beautiful cut where Willow leaves the shot and then like arcs back around to come into the shot from a different angle to kiss Oz, and it's this sweet kiss. It's just like this quick little it's just so sweet. And we're ready for the credits to roll, to feel great, and instead
the rug gets yanked out from under us.
Instead of the credits rolling, Oz like basically in my mind
winks into the camera.
Yes, exactly. Looks right at the camera and says, "A werewolf in love."
It's like some fucking Looney Tunes heart-shaped cutout should like zoom in from outside of the frame and like close the scene.
And that might have been that likely was the intentionality anyway, maybe they just didn't take it far enough where it sits in this middle ground, but really funny. And great episode.
Great episode.
Just this was a long episode for us for Phases. I did not think we were going to talk that long. I kind of forgot about some of the other plot points in this until we did the rewatch, but just a really wonderful episode. All in all.
A+++++. So,
yeah. Thanks for listening with us.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm Jenny Owen Youngs, and when I'm not watching Buffy, I am writing and recording songs. You can learn more about me at jennyowenyoungs.com/buffering, and you can give me a shout on Twitter at JennyOwenYoungs.
And I am Kristen Russo. You can find me on Twitter at Kristen Noeline. That's KristinNoeline. You can also learn more about my work with LGBTQ young people and their families over at KristenNoeline.com, or you can go check out Everyone is Gay or My Kid is Gay, both online for your use.
Buffering the Vampire Slayer is on Twitter and Facebook at BufferingCast, and you can shoot us an email at bufferingthevampireslayer@gmail.com.
There are a couple of ways to support us. One new way to support us. We are now available on Stitcher Premium. Stitcher Premium is an awesome platform for podcasts. They have a ton of great shows, all of the shows that you normally listen to on Stitcher, plus bonus episodes, comedy albums, original programming, and tons of other premium content. You can go over there now and support us by using the link stitcherpremium.com/Buffy. With the code Buffy, you will get $5 off your first year and a free month. So for $30, technically $29.99. You save even an extra penny. $29.99, you get an ad-free experience with our show, as well as all the other shows on that platform for the year. So that's exciting stuff, and we will likely, in the coming months, have some bonus content that will be happening on Stitcher Premium as well. If you don't know, you can also support our work on Patreon. Patreon is an awesome place where you get fun rewards for your support. You can pledge at the $1, $5, or $10 level. At the $5 level, you get the MP3s of the songs that we write the week that we write them. So that's fun because you don't have to wait until the end of the season to purchase them. You get them right in your inbox. We also do Buffy watches, and we have a secret little Facebook group going over there, which is just so active. Everyone is talking to each other in that little secret group. I love it so much. Somebody was like, here's the deal. My partner is going to watch 3 episodes, and I need to know which 3. And then everybody like gave their opinions. It's like a whole thing. So it's a fun space, and you can find that over at patreon.com/bufferingcast. And you can also go on over to our store if you want something physical to wrap around your body and remind you of our podcast and Buffy all the time. You can find our store at bufferingthevampireslayer.com. Just click on shop and you will find Smash the Demon Lizard Patriarchy t-shirts, and this just in, our tank tops are back in stock. They are pretty awesome, and 'tis the season if you're in a place that experiences hot weather now. and if not, like, stock up for when you get hot weather. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon supporter at the $10 level, you get 20% off all of our merchandise all the time, plus the satisfaction of being the best person in the whole universe.
A lofty title indeed. I guess that does it. That's everything we have to say. Until next time.
Ow! Or maybe we should say, ow.
There's a werewolf down on Lover's Lane. There's a werewolf hiding in the evergreens. There's a werewolf walking on hind feet. But even a werewolf's better than misogyny. 'Cause Larry grabbed me inappropriately, so you know we had to get thrown. It's enough to make a girl wanna go. Ooh, ooh, Oz is a werewolf, much to his surprise. Oz is a werewolf, and he hopes that no one dies. Oz is a werewolf mainly 'cause the moon is full. But even a werewolf is more respectable than Kane, who's such an asshole, and he's lucky that I have a moral code. It's enough to make a girl wanna go. Ooh,
Hi, I'm Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life. I talked to acclaimed director and executive producer Roland Emmerich.
When I saw the first race, I was like giddy.
Actor Ewan Ryan.
For an actor, that's a dream.
Although you do get a lot of sand in your sandals.
And so many more.
You helped summon those ghosts back onto that stage.
Every day when I went to set, I was giggling about what I saw.
I think it's going to be a breathtaking thing.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't you love it when you find a new podcast you really like? Well, let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm Mike Carruthers, the host, and in every episode, you'll hear fascinating information that will make your life better from top experts. Recently, we've done episodes on why you have the personality you do, the science of luck, and the psychology of a restaurant menu. You're going to like Something You Should Know. We have literally thousands of 5-star reviews. Look for Something You Should Know wherever you get your podcasts.